Shwmae a chroeso I Sgwrs, podlediad Consortiwm Canolbarth y De. Yn y podlediad hwn byddwch chi'n clywed y trafodaethau diweddara am bob math o bethau addysg. Hello and welcome to Sgwrs, the Central South Consortium podcast. In this podcast we'll bring you the very latest discussions on all things education.
Croeso to our latest Sgwrs podcast by the LLC Welsh and English Medium team from the Central South Consortium. My name is Matthias Maurer, and today I'll be speaking to two teachers from Llanharan Primary School, Rhys Roberts and Matthew Foster. Shwmae, Rhys.
Shwmae, Matthias.
And Shwmae, Matthew.
Shwmae, Matthias.
Together we'll explore how teachers in Llanharan manage to improve standards in Welsh oracy. We look at the different elements that came together for this to happen, in particular assessment, planning and pedagogy, and how leadership in the school was able to support all teachers to deliver effective daily Welsh sessions by providing a structure and support that was necessary for all the teachers and learners to succeed. Let's start by introductions. Rhys, would you like to introduce yourself, what year you teach, what your wider role is in school?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm Rhys Roberts. I'm the Year 6 teacher at Llanharan Primary School. I'm also head of phase for the juniors. I've been teaching in Llanharan since 2007, so I'm very much part of the furniture here. And I've been Welsh lead at the school for, I'd say, at least the last 10 years, possibly. And alongside that, I've also worked with Central South, the Cymraeg team before, to help establish the Cymraeg campus for the region, and I'm an Interfilm Cymru ambassador too.
Lovely, thank you. What's your personal Welsh background, Rhys? Do you speak Welsh, or are you learning? And what training have you had so far to develop your pedagogy?
Okay, so my family background is not Welsh speaking, so they're all English speaking. So I studied GCSE in Comprehensive School and was quite successful. I had an A. And then I did A-level Welsh and found it really challenging, and the step up was quite a hard one to manage, and I had a C from that. So I think finishing school, I didn't really use as much Welsh. So when I became a teacher, I thought that being a learner of Welsh who had a fairly solid background of it, I wanted to be the Welsh leader in school because I still consider myself a learner of the language. We do have staff members who are fluent in Welsh in school, but I thought that having a learner leader subject was better than having someone who is fluent with it. In terms of support, I have had, I've been on a 3-week course with Central South way back in times, just to kind of re-establish my kind of understanding of using the language, really.
Lovely, thank you. It's very interesting what you say about being a learner and teaching a language. I myself, obviously, my native language is German, and I have taught many languages, including German. The language I found hardest to teach was German, because I really didn't realize which bits are difficult and which bits I have to focus on. So that's an interesting point you mentioned that. Hello, Matt. Would you like to introduce yourself now?
So Matthew Foster. This year I'm the reception Year 1 teacher in Llanharan Primary School. I've been in Llanharan for 5 years. I graduated 5 years ago, so I came straight here as NQT. I've taught across the school throughout those years. My background Welsh, I've been born and bred in Wales. I went away for many years to work and I've come back, and I've never been great at Welsh as much as I wanted to be. It's never been my my forte.
Yeah, that sounds good. So you mentioned that I hear a little bit of regret there that you wanted to teach Welsh better. Did you try any courses, any training before we start our support?
Not before the support. I haven't. I think I had a little bit of. We've had a little bit of inset for an hour maybe, but mostly it's been confidence because I didn't get on well with it so well when I was in school myself. I didn't do I meant to do GCSE Welsh, but it wasn't, and I thought the confidence wasn't there, so I've never had that confidence of teaching it or using it really.
And that's a common theme in our schools, isn't it? So many of our teachers have formed opinions about themselves and their attitudes to the Welsh from their own school experience of Welsh, which is at times mixed. So it'd be interesting to hear now how the support you had and how Rhys worked with you, how that has affected you over time. Rhys, maybe you could just start by setting the scene and talking about your journey. What made you decide to focus on developing Welsh oracy in the first place?
Yeah, certainly. So Welsh has had a very kind of cyclical nature in our school, because we've had periods where we have needed to develop and support ourselves to build up the level we're at, and then periods where we've been working really hard and it's got to a good place. We're a small school. We've only got 157 on roll, and currently 6 classes, but we'll go to 5 classes next year. So a lot of it is dependent on, in a small school, the confidence level of the staff with Welsh speakers in there. So if you've got in a small school a high portion of that, then you've got a good chance of doing really well. But if you've got a majority of those 6 staff members there who haven't got confidence, it becomes quite hard. We have got quite a lot of challenge in the school. So we are 32% in preschool meals, and ALN is 28%. So we've got a lot of challenge there as well. But in terms of context, as I said, it's been a cycle of nature. We were the first school in Central South to have the Wobr Efydd for the Cymraeg Campus Award back in 2019. But then we've had staff changeover, so quite a lot of the staff that from that time have moved on. And not long after that, also, we had the COVID pandemic, which has had a massive impact on Welsh. So whereas in English, maths, etc., during that period, our pupils were able to engage with home learning with parents, it was much more of a challenge with Welsh, because our cohort of parents, they're not Welsh speakers, so they haven't got the support with them. So we knew that we were going to have to develop anyway, but we had our Estyn inspection just over a year ago now, and Welsh was highlighted as a recommendation for developing oracy. So we knew that we needed to do something to meet that target in the Estyn report to move our school forward. So that's why we've engaged yourself, and we've worked as a staff to really try to pull things together to change the story and build that cycle again.
Thank you. That maybe that's a good point now, Matthew, for you to come in and just talk about, at the time, before support started, before Rhys started working with you on developing the oracy, how did you use to teach the Welsh in your class? How did you plan for it? What sort of pedagogy activities did you use? And how did you find that? In what way was that challenging? And what did you at the time think worked well?
Okay, so as I said, it's for me, it's been 5 years in primary education. So I've used the experience of previous mentors through watching others and what have you, and again, knowing or being with other teachers that aren't confident, I realise now that did what they've done, and we were just using help ahead of you sessions as being the main lessons. So a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of chart, it's all child led. So they'd be doing doctor and so on and so forth, and they would choose how they do it. And that was basically the pedagogy we would use, is constant repetitiveness of what the children knew. Also, then I would also leave planning for PPA teachers. So I'd use the PPA teacher to teach the Welsh that I didn't have the confidence or I didn't feel I had the confidence or ability to teach. And obviously this is highlighted during our inspection, that not just myself, but where we needed to improve oracy through the school. So we've had to really look at how that's changed and how we can change as teachers.
Yeah. Thank you, and I think that's what we're going to come to then, how you reflected on what you've done and how Rhys also helped you develop then and maybe become more confident. Rhys, could you start now talking us through how you set off? So you had decided Welsh oracy is your focus. What were the first steps you then undertook, really?
Well, the first steps is to actually go back to listening to what the learners know, because we have continued with following schemes work and following the continuum, and we're looking at, for example, in Year 6, developing the children's understanding of the future tense. But when we go to listen to learners, they're not understanding questions much further back in our step. So the whole idea was we need to take the listen to learners data that we had, identify where the actual present need for the children were, and start from there. So putting together then a plan of learning bespoke to the classes based on that cohort of children, what they needed. So we took the listened learners, we put together a half-term plan with a language pattern that was the most present need for that week, and then build on that then throughout that half term to build up the confidence, whilst also reviewing the language patterns that children did know, because that's the key thing. I think what we've misunderstood in the past is that we've taken on board the fact that, because the children are confident with these language patterns, we can leave that aside because they've got that, but that's not how children learn, especially with languages. So that constant reviewing of that process was needed. And it's also, as Matthew said, is that I think there's been some misinterpretation in the past that, of the role of the help head. So, and a lot of times due to, again, this misunderstanding, the Welsh sessions were very much the children were helping to lead those sessions. Well, if the children don't know the language, then they can't develop it any further than what they understand themselves. So we took this midterm plan for a curriculum, I guess, really for the oracy development for each class. And even though the focus would still, we still have our Welsh week lesson where they'd be looking at the patterns a bit more relevant to them, my key focus was that we need to work on what they do, because we need to fill in the gaps. To get our children to the level that we want to, they need to have the building stones. I then shared it with the staff learners so that the staff teachers, so they can understand where the children were in their class. And I put together a performer to help develop what I wanted to do. So taking away of as much responsibility that the staff had themselves, because I've got the confidence level to plan that Welsh and use that Welsh. So I was able to identify what the Welsh was, give the patterns, give examples of the patterns, and direct them to any relevant resources from the continuum and the training we had from yourself when you come in to deliver the daily Welsh sessions, and any of the resources from the continuum.
Could you explain how you organize? You spoke about supporting resources and supporting teachers. How is that organized? What does it look like practically in school? Do you share on a drive? Do teachers adopt their own resources? Do they all do it on their own, or are there people you support more than others?
Yes, well, so we have our staff teams page. So I've created an area on our staff team page where we have our Welsh resources. So the PowerPoint, which was shared with us when we had our Daily Welsh CPD, I've put on there as a master copy, which is then alongside the half-termly planning for the oracy patterns for that half-term, where the staff who are then confident enough to adapt the resource, the master resource they got for the activities they want to be challenging that week with the language patterns. Running alongside that, then I've been mentoring those staff who possibly haven't got the confidence of that to plan with them how to deliver it, how to prepare the resources, how to choose ones which fit better. With the actual the plan and performance I've developed as well, I've got a matrix on it with every activity that we were shown and we were taught to use from my own perspective as a leader of Welsh, to see, is there a lot of repetition going on? Are there certain activities which staff are using all the time and certain activities which they're not? And then having that conversation with the staff members, say, well, is there a reason for that? Do you need extra support? Say, right, okay, I think I need to do this. For example, doing divide, I'm not sure how to use that. That's why I haven't used it. Well, we'll practice it. So it's just giving that ongoing support of giving the reinforcement to enable the staff to do it. And it's trying to take as much of the pressure off the staff members as possible so they can focus on the delivery of the lessons. So they haven't got to worry about planning in an area where they're not fully confident in going ahead with it, really.
Could I just follow this up, Reese, actually? Because sometimes we get concerned if subject leaders have to take on too much responsibility in supporting staff and resourcing. How manageable do you find what you do? Is it a huge time investment, or can you sort of fit it in the time you have as a subject leader?
Well, it is a huge time investment, but there's a reason and a need for it. So from my perspective, I know that in the initial outlay of doing this process, it's going to be a lot of weight on myself to do it. But the whole process is that the more we're going through this journey, the more I'm pulling back myself. So there are some staff members now who I'm working with where we'll do the listen to learners together and the planning together. So it's then sharing the process with them so that next time perhaps I can just take more of an advisory role myself so that I'm on hand to call back. So it just moves on and cascades down throughout the school. But yeah, it is quite challenging at the start. But like I said, it's needed to be done so that it gets in place. Once it's all in place and the staff are comfortable with how the process works, how we plan, how we take from what the pupils know to advise our planning, how to utilize the resources, then it will become easier in the long run.
And this is obviously an audio podcast, but I saw on the screen, I saw you nodding along just now, Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew, could you speak about, especially you nodded along when Reece said people become increasingly independent, and it's a startup where it gives a lot of support. Could you talk through now about, after I myself had come in my role as associate advisor for the Central South Consortium, we focused in Twilight for daily planning and pedagogy. What was the impact of this on your own practice and on your learners?
Well, it was drastic change for myself. It was having that structure in place of actually knowing what I've got to teach, how and where I've got to teach it, and having the pedagogies available to teach language. To teach language just opened up a new way for me. I'm quite a confident teacher across the board, but it was just, for me, it was almost like someone gave me a trumpet, go and teach the children this. And I'm like, where do I start? But having that clear structure in place, a pro forma for planning, it was quite simplistic. It was easy, it was clear what was expected, and then the expectations of week by week what we were to teach. And using all from the meeting we had, for the training we had from yourself, I could take all the flashcards and the ghost voicing and the daily repetition, etc., and actually use those. After several weeks of using them, the massive change in the development of confidence in myself, in the learning from the children, I've been able now to develop my own resources and almost kind of use the resources I had and just change them so they suit with my learners and suit the needs of those children, opposed to being, this is what you can use, this is how we did it, you will use this way. And I suppose that for me, that's been just I said to you, opened my eyes to how easy in a way when you have that support behind you and from the leadership to give you, I could pop down to see Reece and say, this sentence structure, can I use this with this? Because, and you say, oh yeah, and this is how you say it, or just simple things like that, because I wasn't that confident in it. But you'd be there all the time. I didn't feel as though I was a burden or I wasn't being judged on my teaching. It was just a case of knowing that it's okay, we're here to help you, help give you that support. So yeah, it was great.
And the reason I have spoken before about, there was a day when we both did a learning walk through school, and we had the pleasure and the privilege to watch you teach. And I had not seen you teach before, but now hearing that apparently in the past you didn't have a lot of confidence teaching Welsh and were not secure, this is not what came across at all. It was just a really, really lovely lesson with your learners. And it wasn't just your confidence, it was the learners' confidence as well, the way that they challenged you, asking questions. As you remember, the sit IT, and you had to answer doing happies, and the little ones pointing at you, Pam, Pam. There was this real vibe going through. They so enjoyed that session. There was a good pace. If you had to, for the listeners now, our audience who would like to understand how the way you teach now is differently to in the past, if you compare the actual teaching activities, is there something that is like the core, what's different from the previous games you played with the children led to what you do now?
Yeah, I think the difference now is that I lead it, I'm in control, and I know exactly what I'm trying to get out of the children in that way, rather than it being child-led before. As much as I'm a child-led teacher, and I like giving them that opportunity. It's about equipping them with the knowledge first for them to be able to have that child-led learning. It's we do a lot of drilling, we do a lot of ghost voice, so they absolutely love our robot voices and ghost voices and what have you. We use that for our base, and then we can add that into our sentence structures. I'm trying to think now, when we're talking about what we're wearing, and they're now actually gone to saying, well, actually, I like to wear this, but I don't like to wear this. And they'll add two different sentence structures we've learned at different times and put them together, and we talk on the gates in the morning. The parents are getting involved now because the children going home loving it. Oh, we're talking Welsh, and parents are learning it, and so it's completely changed our whole approach in our class, and everything we do, we always look for how can we introduce some more Welsh language into it, whether it's asking for a pencil, asking for one, you'll get them saying, asking for a pencil or a shape in going to their first language being Welsh opposed to being English. So they'll say, we'll talk about emotions. There's we're talking in doing our English lesson. Say dress, or they'll say happies, and what can we write in English? And they find that sometimes difficult to use happy opposed to happy. So it's it's a big change.
Yeah, I just remembered just now a conversation we had at the time that maybe you could talk about this briefly. Rhys has mentioned he put a lot of time into using the assessment to plan language patterns, but then for teachers to have a very precise overview of the order you're going to introduce them. And could you I think you spoke about the fact that you found this helpful in the way that you could prepare in advance, not being a Welsh speaker yourself, the words you were going to teach the following week or fortnight?
I suppose when we first changed to having this more of the structure, for me, I think I said to you, I was a week ahead of the children, so I'll be practicing at home a week ahead of the children. So I was more confident going into that lesson. Now I can be several weeks ahead because I kind of developing and learning myself. I try and talk to the old year 6s and year 5s around the school to continue to develop it. Sometimes I am that week ahead because there's new sentence structures I'm using. But being that, you don't have to be way ahead. You just need to be ahead of them to be able to support their learning, and it supports your learning. I think that's the biggest thing I've taken for it. I don't have to know it all, which for me is difficult because I like to think I know it all anyway. So.
Yeah, and that is really the whole way we thought about this, Rhys, wasn't it? To find a way that's manageable for your non-specialist teachers, so they can enjoy teaching Welsh and can focus on developing themselves and develop the confidence that you clearly are showing now, Matt. Rhys, from a subject leader's point of view, how would you describe now the overall impact of the changes you have made on Welsh oracy across the school?
Well, it's been huge. Through listening to learners and people's voices in the past, the children in the school have always been keen on Welsh. They've always wanted to really fully engage with Welsh. So we've never had that issue in the past. So it's just been a case of putting things in place and procedures in place to equip the staff to meet that desire that children have. Listen to learners, our repeat listen to learners we did in February, the change in the amount of language patterns, the extension that children were given, the reasons that children were given into their answers was huge. It was just amazing. And I've recently repeat the process with my year 6 class right now, and pretty much every question they just give me answers and it's a case of, I need to stop now, guys. We've done it all, and I just wanted to give more Welsh. I created a document to go around the school and share the parents, which is what are the language patterns each class is learning. So it's taking it out of being our own little islands to get the Welsh around the school. So it's lovely at break times. I'm having children from the year 3 class come up to me and asking me the question they're learning that week to test myself, to test me. They're then going to the year 6s and they're looking at the posters up on the wall to see what the year 6 pattern is. They're trying to say that themselves. I'm sharing this at the gate in the mornings when I'm speaking to parents, and we're having parents who in the past who are sprinting past me when I'm speaking Welsh to them, who are saying, I've just signed up the class to Duolingo to try to learn, because the children are going home and they're just saying, we learned this in school, we learned this. So we're sharing the language patterns and the ways of answering the patterns with the parents now as well. So they've got the opportunity to practice this with the children home, because that's one of the issues we had in the past. The parents' confidence isn't there. We have run a Cymraeg cafe with parents in one of the classes, so that they've been coming into the school to do the sessions, to do the activities with the children. But the actual standards from our assessments, it's just evident how much it's moved on, because as I said, the ability to share what they've learned is quite clear, and it's not fake either. When, as you were mentioning about doing the learning walk, it's very clear that it was all very natural how they're engaged in the other class as well, because they were just firing off language patterns. They were firing off showing off what they've been doing in classes, it was one of the most rewarding days I've had going around school, and just a massive beaming smile on my face by sitting and watching these lessons. But it's just been really pleasing to see. And the other thing on that note then is the amount of staff members. We've got a waiting list now for staff saying, Welsh course, I want to go on this Welsh course. So we've had 4 members of staff who've gone on Welsh courses now already this year. Matthew is successfully going on to the
2 terms sabbatical.
Yeah, the sabbatical, so the 2 terms sabbatical now next year. So that's going to have a huge impact on the school to develop our Welsh as well. And it's just, there's a buzz around the school now that in the past that buzz was there with the children, but I think the buzz is with everyone in the school community.
And really that's a good place, isn't it? And we've spoken about this in the past, that if you want the Welsh to go in school, everyone needs to be part of this culture. And in a way, everyone is a learner, isn't it? We all learn, teachers, children, we learn together, and we want to learn the language we can use together. Thank you so much for sharing. That's been so interesting. Now, both of you, Rhys, you as a subject leader and a class teacher, and Matthew, you as a class teacher, what's next for you? Matthew, maybe you've just mentioned, or Rhys has mentioned, you are going on the Welsh sabbatical, yeah?
Yeah, so after, well, a couple of months ago, I went on a 2-day Welsh course, and I really enjoyed it. I thrived. I thought, actually, I can do this. I'm really enjoying the learning journey for myself, and how can I improve for my children, my class, and how can I help to better the community. So with Mrs. Price's, the head teacher's agreement and suggestions from yourself, the secondment came up for the two-term Welsh. I applied for that and successfully got on it. So I'm really looking forward to going to that. We've got plans for when I return to school for developing community learning. So having parents come in, doing more workshops, and not just parents, perhaps the wider community as well, so we can teach Welsh through our wider community.
How exciting to know that you already have plans in place, how to use your expertise when you get back. I can promise you now this will be 2 very good terms in your life. Yeah, so the sabbatical is a very exciting, very effective course that develops you as a speaker and as a teacher of Welsh. So yeah, congratulations to getting in place on this. Rhys, how about you?
Sorry to interrupt you, Matthias. I was going to say, it was actually quite a lot of what you discussed in our feedback, which gave me that confidence as well. So that's really given me the emphasis to want to actually carry on learning Welsh. So thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. I so enjoyed watching your lesson. It was absolutely brilliant at the time. Rhys, how about you now? As a school, what are your next plans then? Obviously, you already are planning staff, upskilling staff.
Yeah, well, so it's going to be consolidation of our confidence as a school with the teaching of oracy. So we're going to keep that going. We've got a little bit of restructure going on now over the summer with a kind of change of classes as well. So we need to keep that building up with her. So making sure that the staff are aware of how the process of planning and accessing resources, the confidence level in delivering the sessions. For myself, I have been looking at developing a tool to kind of track the understanding of the patterns in the continuum, because I want to be really kind of getting our children now. At the moment, the oracy is very much tailored towards what is required by the children. So I want to start building up from foundation phase so that the planning for the delivery of the daily Welsh is based on the relevant area in the continuum as it is then. So hopefully, if I'm starting that now and tailoring that now at the young age, that will cascade as they get up throughout school. And then it just means that further up the school, we're filling in the gaps there. It's also looking at how we can take those patterns in the continuum and plan it so that they become part of the daily routine. So it's identifying those parts in the school's routine where we can really put a lot of focus into the Welsh pattern. So at break time, oes cot gyda ti. In the lunch hall, beth ydi eisiau. Just so that we got more of a natural flow. So it's an extra opportunity. It's taking every opportunity we have to develop the Welsh in the school. And then it's the big challenge then is for myself as a lead is to look at then our weekly Welsh and getting our Welsh across the continuum, across the curriculum, sorry. So how we can tie up our Welsh oracy with what we're learning in literacy so that it's hitting as many things as possible. So if our text focus in literacy is letters, then how can we use our Welsh patterns to tie it all together? So it becomes one huge melting pot of learning going together with Welsh and English working as a bilingual school, really.
And personally, I think you're in a good place to move on to this step now, because you have developed really strong structures for teaching the patterns to make sure they are embedded well. And now you can go to transferring and applying them. So yeah, very exciting prospects there. Diolch o galon to both of you for sharing your experiences with us. It's been incredibly interesting to hear how, as a school, you have followed a clear and manageable plan to bring together assessment, planning, and pedagogy. And as a result, that you have not only raised the standards in Welsh oracy, but you have also sort of rekindled both the teachers and the pupils' love for the teaching and learning of the Welsh language. Llongyfarchiadau and diolch eto. Hwyl fawr both.
Hwyl fawr, hwyl fawr.
Diolch am wrando ar y benod hon o Sgwrs. Cofiwch ein dilyn ar Twitter a Facebook, tan ysgrifio ein sianel YouTube, ymuno yn cymunedau ar ein gwefan a darllen ein bwletin ysgolion wythnosol am y newyddion diweddaraf. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sgwrs. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, join our online communities via our website, and read our weekly school bulletin for the latest news. Hwyl am y tro. Bye for now.